Welcome back, baseball fans, to the 1971-74 off-season look at the Strat-O-Matic card sets. We are going to wrap up the 1972 card set tonight by looking at the National League Expansion Mountain Time Zone Division and the National League West. We've looked at the rest of them, then we'll sit this box on the side. So we're going to go to 4 teams right away that have no history, and these are all brand new expansion teams. We know, of course, Arizona Diamondbacks would exist much later, of course, but in this particular version, let's take a look at their waivers and their keepers. The 2 guys they waive, if there's 2, might just be 1. One of them is Paul Casanova. He might have a good throwing arm to offset his hitting. He could be a platoon catcher against lefties if he's got a good throwing arm as a 206 hitter. But their 4 keepers are Ed Herman, Dalton Jones, Merv Retman, and Chris Short. Now, we know that they gave up a lot to get Retman, but it's not going to be this year. So let's take a look at Ed Herman. Ed Herman is okay. Yeah, he's got some power there. 249 hitter with 10 homers and 354 at bats, but the platoon is opportunistic. He could get in the league with that card. Retman's going to get in the league with a 71 card. That's his last year. He gets 300, so we got to ignore him here. Dalton Jones, I think he's got a better 71. This one's pretty bad. And here's Retman. Now you don't want this one, of course. This is 72. Still decent. 233. Well, maybe not that decent. But we know we made the offseason deal for the Diamondbacks to get Merv Retman's big 71 card. All right, next up, your Colorado Rockies. Let's see what they're up to. They put Gary Peters on waivers. Used to pitch on 3 days rest. No more. Now he's a relief starter. And just kind of ordinary. He's been put on waivers. He might get into the league. I always give a long leash to lefties, so he could get into the league with this card. But their keepers are Jack Hyatt, Rick Monday, Don Money, and Carl Morton. Now, one of the things we said about Rick Monday and Don Money is that we know they have good 74s, but there's a couple other guys in the year of 74 we'd like to improve, Rick Auerbach and Joe LaHood. So let's see what Hyatt, Monday, Money, and Morton offer. There's no Jack Hyatt, which is fine, because I think 71 Hyatt's one we like. But here's Carl Morton. Nice 1970, disappointing 71, and then 72, he starts to rebound a little bit. So he got better after a bad 71. He's right back to where he was basically in 70. Can't pitch on 3 days rest. He's a starter 7, very capable pitcher. Nothing special, probably a 3-starter, possibly a 2 on a bad team. That's Carl Morton. And then you have Money and Monday. Now here's Don Money. We got no stick with Don. He can field a third, but 222 in a full season, that's not good enough. I mean, you got to do better than that. So one of his other years will have to be taken. And this Rick Monday is intriguing. Great defense in center field. Still a good base runner. Has the walks. He's got a nice performance against righties, and even against lefties, he doesn't have power, didn't hit a home run, but he has the walks. It all adds up for Monday to a very good 249. Surprisingly decent 249, but you'd like more out of Monday during the timeline than what we're seeing. So maybe they're going to have to figure out what they want to do. They might have to postpone Rick Auerbach's improvement because Monday and Money are not cooperating by being good in the years of 71, 72, perhaps 73. That's going to have what the story's going to have to be. So next up, we've got the super expansions, I like to call them. Teams 31 and 32, Vegas and Portland. Super expansion because, heck, they don't ever exist. They're truly fictional. And Las Vegas, on waivers, they would put John Bacabella. I like the versatility of positions. Catcher in first. And his bat's not there. Against lefties, he's got power. He's decent against lefties, maybe in the platoon. He's 227 hitter, nothing special. And who is Las Vegas going to protect? Wes Parker. The big offseason acquisition, Ed Brinkman, Ray Culp, and Aurelio Rodriguez. Now, these are some interesting players to look at. First, Wes Parker. And yes, he is a 1. So, yeah. At least this card, if not the 71 card, we taken. 279. That's a fine card. Switch hitter. You know you're not going to get power out of this guy anymore. But Ed Brinkman, now here's the big story. Look at the batting average, folks. He is a 203 hitter, but he got MVP votes. MVP votes for a 203 hitter for the 72 Tigers because they won the American League East. And he was a sharp fielding shortstop. Look at that 1. That's power versus righties. So you definitely want to get him as a 1. So this is probably the year. And then Ray Culp and A-Rod. Ray Culp. And he's finally starting to fall off a little bit here. After a nice 1970, this is a bad 72. So 71 is probably the year for him. And A-Rod's a 1. And this is a nice little A-Rod card. Yeah, power both ways. Looks like a 250 hitter, 256. 236, but 601 at-bats. And what you're basically doing is you're getting the Tigers double play combination. The Tigers have basically said, you know what? Their batting averages are so bad. We want to go with offense. Detroit's just going to start walloping people. That's what the Detroit Tiger strategy will be. Just beat people up with their bats. Not worry too much about defense at third and short. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Right, the final team in the Mountain Time Zone is, of course, your Portland squad. Now, Portland... the wavered guys don't even exist anymore in 72. They must have been very bad. I had only one more year in 71. But their keepers for 72 are Bertie Carbo, Tony Gonzalez, Jim Perry, and Rich Reese. All right, so Carbo, the Reds had to let him go. And Carbo does not have a nice 71. So 72 is going to be better. He's back up to 251. Neither year, 71 or 72, is as good as what he did in 1970 when he was magnificent. However, when you put the walks in, at least against righties, he's an East Stealer. That's a shame, too. Guy's a -4 arm, and you can make him a third baseman for 5 minutes. It's just not a very good card, is it? But in a platoon, that's not bad. That's not bad in a platoon for Carbo. Jim Perry, 24-game winner in 70. Still pitches on 3 days rest with an ERA around 330. This is just as good as that 70 card. I'm thinking this card gets in the league. And then you have Rich Reese. Good glove at first base. As a lefty in a platoon, has power. One side. Nothing over here, really. But is there enough over here? Boy, not a lot, is it? 218? Yeah, you don't want to be that weak at first base. They better find a better version for Rich Reese, or Portland could be in for a long year. Some bad hitting. I didn't see it. You know, Carbo and Reese just did not come through in either one of those years. Neither year there, either one of those cards. Let's go out west now, back into traditional baseball teams. We'll go to the Houston Astros. Houston had a nice little run in this last season we just played. Surprise wild card team. Battled the Reds in the divisional round. Got the chance to showcase Joe Morgan. So they're putting Tom McCraw on waivers. This is another nice card for McCraw. Better than the 70 card he played with. He's got a nice 74 card too, at least against righties. So someone's going to get a nice first baseman off of waivers. Frankly, that last team we just saw, Portland, they'd be better off making a deal to get Tom McCraw away from Houston, let him be the first baseman, and put Rich Reese on waivers. I mean, I eyeballed 2 Tom McCraw cards at first base that are better than Rich Reese. He's on waivers. So their 4 keepers are Dave Duncan, Dennis Menke, Joe Morgan, and Jim Wynn. There'll be an aspect about Morgan that we're not going to be able to take, as we want to stick with baseball tradition. Dave Duncan, great 1972. Look at all the home runs at catcher. Was actually a better Oakland catcher than Mr. Gene Tennis. And frankly, if I'm the Oakland A's, I call up and say, I want our catcher back. We want Dave Duncan to come back to Oakland. You shouldn't have him. So he's definitely on the trade market because Houston has Johnny Edwards as a left-handed hitting catcher. So you don't really need a catcher like this who's got 400 and some plate appearances. Dennis Mankey 72 card, I think it's just got to sit and wait too because he's going to be a red. And he and Morgan both. Here's the Morgan card. We're going to go with baseball tradition with Morgan. I'm not so sure about Mankey, but we are going to wait and get this card on Cincinnati next year, but not this year. His Cincinnati card of 72. We're going to let the trade happen as it naturally happened. So Houston will have to go with a 71 Joe Morgan. And then once the season's over, then the trade will be made. And then next year, they could go to the 75 Morgan. Next year, the Reds will have the choice of 72, 3, 4, and 75 Joe Morgan cards. But Jim Wynn is the last keeper. And he had a bad 71, but he responds with a nice 72. This is the one they'll take. They'll take this card. Still an Astro. So they'll take this Jim Wynn, and they'll take the 71 Joe Morgan, and that'll be the last time that those two baseball players would be playing for the Astros. Morgan will be gone in 2 years, and Wynn will be gone in 3 years. So, fun stuff there. I'm kind of happy to keep baseball history alive in that manner. It's so very important to keep some of the tradition in this, regardless of, whether it makes sense. Plus, because you know how the trades worked out historically, you can change the parameters, which is what I plan on doing. All right, the Dodgers. This team is up and coming in a big way. We know they go to the 74 series. We know Steve Garvey is going to be bumped up to his MVP card in 74. They're doing all pitching. They're going the catcher Tom Haller, Andy Messersmith, Pete Mickelson, and Claude Osteen. On waivers, Grabarkowitz. His 71 card is much more fun than this one. Very similar, but with more walks. This card's really not that bad because of the walks. But, yeah. But you got Osteen, Haller, Messersmith, and Mickelson. So here's Claude Osteen. Nice card. Yeah, that's really nice. 20-game winner, 2.64 ERA. Boy, Dodgers. With Don Sutton, 1 and 2. Tom Haller, maybe this year. I think he's better in 71. Then you got Messersmith, starter 7. Is he still an Angel here? Yeah, he was still an Angel. But the Dodgers accelerated that trade. Doesn't pitch on 3 days rest, but you know what, folks? He may not have to. Because if you assume Sutton's the 1 and Osteen is the 2, you can get away without a guy on 3 days rest as your 3, if that's Messersmith. Though, Messersmith will have an even better ERA than this and pitch on 3 days rest in the future. And the 4th pitcher is Mickelson. Good in 70, not quite as good in 71. And by 72, yeah, we don't want this card. So we want 71 Mickelson. I think we want 71 Mickelson and Haller, 72 Osteen, and Messersmith in 73 or 74. And boy, these Dodgers are going to be good. They're going to be up to the top shelf in the National League with the Cincinnati Reds and the New York Mets. And hopefully, for you Pirate fans, the Pirates will respond after some mediocrity. Padres, always a fun team to look at, beyond everything else. We like to have fun with the Padres whenever we can. They don't do a lot of winning, but they can have a lot of fun not winning. They would put Alex Johnson, who acquired in a trade on waivers. Actually, yeah, nothing special there. Their keepers are Ollie Brown, Chris Cranizero, Cito Gaston, Ed Spazio. So, here's Ollie Brown. That's a nice card. Corner outfielder, kills lefties. Okay against righties. What's the percentage? 48? I think this might be a 275 card. 270. High percentage against lefties. Makes that work. Nice card. I'd take that one. Canizero, 71 card looks a lot like this, but more walks. He's got walks here and there. Same template, but he's better 71. He's down to 240 here. Gaston. Now, this is great news, except for position, which is a shame. But it's great news because he really fell off a cliff in 71. He has a stunning 1970 card. 71, he hits 228. But here he's hitting just like Ollie Brown. High percentage over there. 285. 269. Looks better than that though, doesn't it? That's a damn good 269 card. My goodness. I guess that hurts, that out right there and the out there. But that looks much better than a 269 batting average. He doesn't play center field anymore. So somebody has to play center for this team. Your options are LaRon Lee, Ollie Brown. Did have Al Ferrara. Can't think of anybody else. And third baseman Ed Spezio. His defense is bad. Always hit lefties well. Hits righties better here than he did in the previous year. I'm going to guess this average to be 255, 238. I guess I got the rose-colored glasses on. They look good. Maybe it's the Padres. I want them to look good. I'm hoping they do good. They need to win a little bit. And lastly, and we'll be done with the 72 box. San Francisco Giants. What a fun team that kind of botched a lot of transactions in the 70s and just could not keep up with the Dodgers and the Reds because they just botched all these transactions. Gary Maddox, Gary Matthews, you know, they let him go for nothing. Ed Goodson fizzled. Yeah. Jim LaFay's on waivers. Nothing special there. And the Giants, Dick Dietz, Willie McCovey, Sam McDowell, Don McMahon. Dick Dietz is still around in 72, but his bat is clearly gone by now after a magnificent 1970. 71 will be the year we take because he's fallen off on hard times. Willie McCovey, he's starting to fall badly here. And gosh, I don't even know if I want to let him go to the Padres. It seems crazy. 71 McCovey will also be taken. So we're committing Dietz and McCovey to 71 because they're getting old and not doing very much. So hopefully we get Sam McDowell in this card. Starter 7. Known for giving up homers and walks but striking out a ton of guys. The homers aren't that bad. The walks aren't that bad. The strikeouts are good. This is a decent card. 434 and 164 innings. Maybe too many walks. That's a shame. And Don McMahon, he's got a good card in 73, I believe. This is a good card. Nice card here. 371, but he's got a better card in 73. I think it's like a $1.80 ERA. Not really happy here in the year of 1972 with the Giants. And I'm not sure what this team's going to do. None of these guys are really that good. They've got to figure out a better plan. They'll have to go to the waiver wire or make a trade. But the Giants don't look good in the year of 72. So, that is it for this card set analysis. When we pick this card set up, we will go straight into the next year of 1973. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll see you next time.